And we will be standing with them in solidarity to ensure that they carry on with their Sunday service.
Wasiogope ama wasiofie kwenda kwa makanisa, waende wamuombe Mungu ili aweze kutusaidia na aweze kutubariki.
Some of the survivors of last week's attacks, unshaken by the events of their last service, also attended the Sunday service. As the church proceedings went on, however, an increased security presence comprising GSU personnel could be seen patrolling the streets of Garissa, with reports indicating that policemen had been posted to all 31 churches in the town. The situation in Garissa was replicated in other churches across the country. In Nairobi, most churches had armed security agents manning the entrances. Worshippers at the Ministry of Repentance and Holiness Church at the City Hall were also subjected to rigorous security checks. In fact, congregants of this church were forced to leave their bags outside as part of the security measures. In Eldoret, security officers drawn from the regular and administration police kept guard around the churches as worshippers went about their services. Kiambu was no different, with armed policemen checking both motorists and pedestrians who wanted access to the church. The security agents were also scattered throughout the church compound, keeping watch as the service went on. Last week, militants used grenades and guns to attack 2 churches in Garissa, killing 17 worshippers and injuring over 60 people. Most of the churchgoers that KTN spoke to, however, said that although the security presence in the churches made them feel more comfortable, they wanted a situation where the country was safe enough for them to attend church without needing such heightened security.
Government officials and indeed religious leaders from different faiths are however careful to warn Kenyans that despite the attacks and the security that follows, that this should not be misinterpreted as a religious conflict. Edith Kimani, KTN, Nairobi.
Well, 3 university students are currently in police custody following the murder of 24-year-old Sarah Arua, whose body was found dumped in Githunguri last Sunday. Sarah, who was a student at the United States International University, had gone missing a week ago. KTN's Betty Kialo brings us the chilling events that led to her death.
Nikaambia hebu nimnipe Sarah. So wakanipa Sarah. Sarah was like panicking.
This was the last time Helen Arua heard her daughter's voice, a conversation that sent her into an emotional frenzy. The man on the other side of the phone would later turn out to be her daughter's alleged murderers. It all started on Thursday, the 28th of June, when Sarah Arua, a 4th-year student pursuing international relations at USIU, was charmed into going on a date with a fellow schoolmate who introduced himself as Daniel Mureithi, which was not his real name. According to her friends, the young man had been pursuing her for a long time but had not succeeded. But on Thursday, Sarah agreed to go on a date with him. They were to meet on Saturday. Saturday at about noon, Daniel picked Sarah from her Roysambu apartment with the car he had hired, and that was the last time she was seen by friends and neighbors alive. Mysteriously though, Sarah had thought to leave a note with details of her date's full names, where he lived, and his phone numbers. At about 2 p.m. that same day, Sarah's mother got a phone call from a man who told her that they had kidnapped her daughter and wanted a ransom paid for her. Sarah's mother then contacted her family and they began the search.
They were changing positions. Police wakishikia hapa, the next minute watapikia hapa. Police wakifuata hapo, wamepotea.
The kidnappers, however, did not call the family again until Sunday, 3 p.m.
By that time, I feel Sarah had already died.
Her feelings would later turn out to be true. Indeed, her daughter had been killed and her body dumped in Githunguri. The only clue that her family was left with was the note that Sarah had left behind containing Daniel's phone number. But upon inquiry with the university's administration, it emerged that no student by the name Daniel Mureithi was in their records. The family then used the mobile phone records to find out the name of the user. The man who had wooed their daughter was called Duncan Mureithi Livingstone, Another name that came up was that of Winnie Wairemu, a student at Kiambu Institute of Science and Technology. She is also being held by police as a suspect in the case and is said to have been banking the monies accrued in previous kidnappings. USIU's administration regretted the death of their student. The 3 suspects are now in police custody until 11th July, when the case will be mentioned. For KTN Sunday Night, I'm Betty Kialo.
Really such a sad story. The kinds of things that are happening in Kenyan universities are really shocking.
Well, very true, Anne. I mean, it's always sad to see a family having to go through that. But let's switch the gears and delve into politics. As we mentioned earlier, the election mood is starting to set in. And today, the Orange Democratic Movement took its campaigns to Eldama Ravine in Baringo County, where it exuded confidence of forming the next government. Speaking at the rally, Prime Minister Raila Odinga affirmed that he was the man to beat in the next general election. The party also warned Kenyans to shun tribal parties and alliances. From Baringo County, here is KTN's Zipporah Karani bringing us more on this story.
ODM party leaders pitched camp in Eldama Ravine, where they sought to convince area residents to back Prime Minister Raila Odinga's presidential bid in the coming general election. Party Secretary General Henry Kosgei and nominated MP Musa Silma, Minister for East African Affairs, among other political leaders. They described the Prime Minister as a defender of the rule of law.
Ambaye atatekeleza katiba tunajua ni nani. Manake kiwa ni damu amemwaga kwa sababu ya katiba. Kiwa ni jela amelala jela kwa sababu ya katiba mpya. Naye si mwingine ni nani? Ni nani? Rais wetu wa 4 wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga.
Tunataka usawa wa mali ya nchi hii. Na kama tunataka usawa, tufuate Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, kwa sababu yeye atalete na atazawazisha yale ambaye wale ambao wanapenda ile ambaye inaitwa impunity.
The ODM team dismissed party-hopping politicians as lacking in agenda and political standing. The party also termed as tribal some of the political alliances currently being witnessed in the country.
Nikaona vyama ambaye vimebuniwa ni ya ukabila. Nikaona mambo ya ukabila inaelekeza tu mambo ya hegi ili ya kupikana.
Wale waliotoka nje kwa ANC, kuna wengine waliotoka, lakini sasa wanavuna yale ambao walikuwa nafikiria ni mazuri, kumbe ni mabaya.
Angalia mtu sawa sawa. Angalia mtu na darubini sawa sawa. Maana kama ni mrongo utajua ukimpindukia. Kama ni mwizi utaangalia utaona.
The PM was, however, very optimistic of his chances in the next poll, saying he wants to change Kenya by upholding the current constitution.
Funda anaweza kushindana na farasi. Kwa hivyo sisi kama ODM tunajua tunakwenda kushindana na farasi moja peke yake. Sisi ODM tumebeba bendera ya mabadiliko.
The rally came to an abrupt end following a heavy downpour. Earlier in the day, the Prime Minister and former President Daniel Arap Moi attended a church service together at Kabarak. Moi urged the current political class to embrace in a deeper sense the spirit of democracy. Zipporah Karani, KTN, reporting from the county of Nakuru.
Well, and of course, from now till the general election, KTN is also, going across the country, bringing the story to you. And let's stay with politics, where Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta took his presidential campaigns to Kisii and Nyamira County, where he reiterated that Ford people and TNA will work together with a view of forming a strong political partnership ahead of the next general election. From Nyamira County, here is KTN's Fred Omulo.
Uhuru's foray into the Gusii heartland came amidst a growing clamor among the region's politicians for the nomination of Professor Sam Ongeri as his running mate. The Foreign Affairs Minister was present and played the hospitable host.
Ndio tumeamua pamoja na wenzetu wote, na kuna wengi pia watakuja mpaka Kisii mzima, na region hii itakaa sambamba na itakuwa region ambao inaheshimika namna hiyo.
On his part, Uhuru urged the various parties in the region and country to join forces in the succession race if they want victory.
Njooni tushirikiane, tuunde chama moja ambaye ni strong. Na tukifanya hivyo, hii viti vyote, si siku ya leo mimi nimekuja hapa kuomba kura yangu ya rais. Si ni kweli? Tuungane, tutafute namna na process that is free and fair and transparent.
Elsewhere, former cabinet minister in Kitui West MP Francis Nyenze has announced his support for Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka's presidential bid. The VP on his part assured Nyenze and all those vying for various elective positions on a Wiper Party ticket of fair nominations.
Whether you see it or you don't see it on the screen, Kalonzo will be the next president of the Republic of Kenya.
Na idea watasema nataka kuwa president, lakini nia yao ni pale mwisho wawe either running mate ya mtu fulani ama waseme watapatiwa viti vingine. Whatever the case, tuko tayari, tuko na nia safi, na mimi niko tayari kabisa kupokea every sister, every brother, because that is me.
In Naivasha, presidential hopeful Raphael Tuju hit out at the government for failing to address the high interest rates in the country. The Party of Action leader also revisited the post-election violence of 2008 and warned the congregation to be wary of certain politicians.
Farasi ni mgongo yenu, mtaukimbiza mpaka State House, kufika kule kwa gate, utawacha kwenda tenda kula nyasi, na huyo ataenda kula sausage ndani ya State House.
For KTN, I am Fredo Mulo.
Meanwhile, it turns out that KANU will not enter into any political alliance with any other party, but will rather field its own presidential candidate in the coming general election. Speaking during a KANU rally in Bomet County, the party's national chairman, Gideon Moi, said the Independence Party will also sponsor its own candidates in the national and county governments. That, of course, related to the elective seats.
Speaking during a KANU rally in Bomet County, KANU National Party Chairman Gideon Moi said KANU will conduct its grassroots elections in August to pick its delegates who will nominate the presidential candidate during the party's National Delegates Conference. The rally, which was held at Chebunyo Primary School Sports Ground in Chepalungu constituency, culminated into the official launch of campaigns to popularize the party at the grassroots ahead of the next year's polls.
Baada ya uchaguzi ya KANU, ndio KANU itatoa msimamo kuhusu yule ambaye atakimbilia au compete kwa kiti cha rais ya taifa la Kenya.
Moi further said KANU was a national party and has strong grassroots network across the country, and that it will not need any alliance with other political parties. The party's leadership also rubbished claims by a section of politicians spreading malicious rumors on KANU, saying KANU is better off compared to many other parties which do not have a clear agenda for the country. Moi also hit out at politicians who are hopping from one political party to others, saying they were not focused and not clear on what they want to offer to the country. KANU leadership also raised concern about the status of security in the country.
We want people to go to church freely and worship God freely without any fear.
The party urged the authorities to step up the war on terror. They expressed their anguish at the continued terror attacks in the country. For KTN Sunday Night, I'm Angel Katusia.
Well, you've heard what the politicians want you to hear, but what do you have to tell them? I hand you over to Anki Gutta with a look at that.
Thanks, Karani. Well, this is what the people want, at least according to this poll. 35% of Kenyans will be looking to vote for a person of high integrity who's also development conscious in the next general election. An opinion poll by Infotrack Harris Research and Consulting also indicates that 17% of Kenyans expect their next president to be open-minded. 15% say they will be looking for a transparent, honest and trustworthy person, while 13% will be voting in a visionary leader.
18% of Kenyans will be looking for high integrity values while electing their next president and other leaders seeking political office. Findings by Infotrack research firm reveal that majority of Kenyans will vote for a candidate based on the aspirant's development track record and integrity as opposed to his or her education background.
Performance oriented was mentioned by 3%, has to be experienced. So I don't know whether the 3% or 3% rating for experience means that they don't want someone who's not been in office before. I can't quite tell you what they meant, but certainly what they want is someone who has experience.
The report further indicates that an ordinary Kenyan would rather own a house, an expensive car, and have lots of cash as opposed to raising a family. The survey was conducted between May 17th and 19th, where 2,400 respondents were interviewed.
There is an element that deals with, communal values. When was the last time you assisted a neighbor or a friend or someone who was in need, etc.? Then it also boils down to us knowing, the things that matter within our communities.
The study reveals that despite the popular belief that women and youth candidates are at an advantage of being elected in comparison to their male counterparts, only 1% of voters will consider these parameters when voting. Majority of Kenyans also view each other as materialistic and lacking in generosity. Work and career is ranked the most important value in the country. In Northeastern Province, the least ranked values were generosity and friendliness, while Nairobi and Western Province showed more emphasis on career development.
Former Nairobi Town Clerk Philip Kisia now says the Nairobi City Council's contentious ISO certification is actually genuine. Kisia has emerged with documents which he claims can prove that the certification was not acquired fraudulently. These and more stories in our news brief wrap.
The debate on Nairobi City Council's ISO certification has taken a new turn, with former Town Clerk Philip Kisia saying that the certificate was not fraudulent as earlier claimed. Addressing journalists in Nairobi, Kisia dismissed reports that the certification was fake and even tabled documents to prove so. His statement comes days after the contentious ISO certification was withdrawn. In Eldoret, an angry mob attacked and lynched two men suspected to have stolen a motorcycle. One of the suspects reportedly tried to hide out in a nearby church, but the villagers got a hold of him and stoned him at the church entrance before setting him ablaze. The area assistant chief, David Simatei, expressed concern over the growing number of mob justice incidents in the region. To Mombasa now, where chairperson of the Sharif Nasir Foundation has opposed the Prevention of Terrorism Bill yet to be presented in Parliament. Abdul Swamad Nasir argues that the bill infringes on fundamental human rights, citing that some contentious clauses should be amended. Still in Meru, prison warders at the Meru GK prison have welcomed the recent promotions in the institution, terming the move a big boost to the realization of prison reforms in the country. 94 officers at the prison were promoted. And finally, although Kenyans have been termed as one of the most educated citizens in East and Central Africa, they still lack a strong and consistent reading culture. Experts now say that Kenyans have to embrace reading if the country is to achieve its Vision 2030. Ken Monyoncho, the author of the newly released book, How to Invest in Financial Markets, says that most Kenyans struggle with saving money for investment, yet there are many books that they could read on financial management. For KTN Sunday Night, I'm Asha Mwilu.
Time for us to take a break on KTN Sunday Night. Just ahead.
Well, just ahead, we'll be telling you about Kenyan bikers on their bikes. Stay tuned for Auto World.
This year, it's time to go big. Enjoy unbelievable discounts on home furniture, furnishings and decor. Get your dream bathroom at rock bottom prices or even transform your office with big bargains. there's only one sale. The big annual sale at the Tile and Carpet Center.
Wakilisha Wendelezane tuinuane.
As Kenya moves towards being a globally competitive and developed country, we have a lot to do. But Vision 2030 is clearly underway. Imara Daima and Makadara commuter stations are 40% complete. Syokimau commuter station complete. Rehabilitation and upgrading of Kisumu Airport complete, which was commissioned in February 2012. The dredging of Mombasa Port is complete. The construction of new Greenfield Terminal at JKIA is scheduled for completion by 2015. The Geothermal Development Corporation has so far drilled 6 wells in Menengai.
If we work hard to improve our future, we will live in a better Kenya. Wakilisha Vision 2030.
Wanawake wengi barani Afrika wanaendelea kugundua sabuni ya Ariel.
Jina langu ni Catherine Kendi Mwambia, nafanya kazi, mimi ni mlinda lango. Hii imejulikana ni kazi ya wanaume, kiwa mama lazima utokeze. Kazi yangu naweza pata uchafu aina mbili. Inabaki inatoa rangi mbaya. Nikitumia hizo sabuni zingine najua itakuwa tu shida, lazima nisugue, lazima nifue. Niligundua siri.
Ariel mpya hupenya ndani zaidi na kuondoa madoa sugu kwa mwosho mmoja.
Mwosho mmoja tu. Mwenyewe ukiinua tumbo hivi unaangalia unaona kweli madoa zako yote, uchafu yako yote imeisha. Nikitokelezea hivyo ndio sema na notice. Hiyo usafi yangu yote na hiyo usaidizi yangu yote nimekuta kwa Ariel. Haitakuwa ya bure. Na kama nitakufeka huju. Asante.
Ariel, mng'aro wa ajabu kwa mwosho mmoja.
Escape to a world of freshness. Indulge in fragrance. This is a life full of flavor. So enjoy good health. And new beginnings. Welcome to Pwani Life.
Hi, I'm Ivy. I'm 14 years old and I'm in Form 1. I love playing basketball and to be a pediatrician. The reason why I want to be a pediatrician is because I love helping children. BIC is my choice because I need it to write my future.
Think big, write big.
I will pray for all the people of this land. I will hold them close to me. Hey, yeah, yeah. All I need is a here right here in Africa. Share to Sakile for here in Africa. All I need is a here right here in Africa. To give my seeds, oh, start me, Africa. I love you, Africa. I love you, Africa. I love you, Africa. I love you, yeah. I love you, Africa. I love you, yeah.
From the most stylish of streets to the roughest of roads, from the town by day to the country at night.
The Nissan Navara Double Cab is one of the unique pickups in the market. One of the features that distinguish the Navara from the rest of the Nissan off-road family is its powerful 2.5-liter common rail turbo engine with outstanding fuel efficiency. The Navara has a sleek yet tough appearance. Everything about the Nissan Navara exterior exudes power and confidence. It is an ideal vehicle for individual, senior managers, tradesmen and construction. All those with an off-road lifestyle that want to stand out.
Ndani kama Nissan.
Old Mutual has helped people invest to secure their future. With this experience comes much wisdom. The wisdom to enable you to do great things.
With every dawn, a new hope is born. Hope for a better day in every way. Our dreams and aspirations fuel our energy. A sense of being in every little thing we do, bringing us closer in so many ways with one agenda to achieve our goals. At UAP, we enhance lives across Africa to deliver the dreams we all hold so dear. Insurance, investment management, property investment, and financial advisory. UAP, better, simple life.
Niundo ando aya, neto chokiengado, neto chokiengado, neto chokiengado, nangoro chito chiode, madani mono kia, madani mwendema.
Ni raia wa nchi ya Italy aliyeishi humu nchini kwa miaka mingi kama padre wa Kikatoliki katika mkoa wa Kati. Katika eneo la Keni anajulikana zaidi kwa ufasaha wake wa kuzungumza lugha ya Kikuyu kila anapowasiliana na wenyeji.
Pankero nenda kokare, niokunyo narochio, ye. Okay, nevega.
Father Romano.
I am called Father Romano Filippi, but recently they have given me another name, Muraidi.
Jiunge nami mwanahabari wako Carol Nderi ni kueleza zaidi kuhusu padre huyu anayesifika na wote kwa kuwajibika kazini.
Welcome back to KTN Sunday Night. Karani, you'll be back with the sports, and the biggest match in tennis was played a little earlier, right?
Very true, actually just about 2 hours ago. And Roger Federer, like many expected, took it away. Huge disappointment for the Brit fans, but we'll have that story in just a while when we turn to the sporting action.
All right, thanks. We'll wait for that. Let's take it to the news. Sir Edmund Hillary was the first man to ever climb Mount Everest. That's the highest peak on Earth, and in 1953 he ascended. Well, 59 years later, and only 2 black Africans have ever conquered the mountain, a South African and a Tanzanian. But by 2014, a Kenyan mountaineer hopes to defy the odds. KTN's Asha Mwulu brings us the exciting journey of a Kenyan mountaineer.
Thank you.
From a distance, this looks like any ordinary job interview. But the fact of the matter is, all the people walking into this room have one thing in common. They all want to be the first Kenyan to ever reach the highest peak in the world, Mount Everest. Expedition Mount Everest has pitched camp in Kenya in the quest for the most suitable candidate that will hoist Kenya's flag on top of the world's highest, toughest, and most mysterious mountain.
Expedition Everest can play a certain role in sending a positive message to people both internally, inside Kenya, and around the world. Internally, it's going to be much less me and much more my Kenyan teammate who's going to say, look, I took on this challenge and I did it.
It's very critical and very important that a Kenyan person or climber stands on top of the world. So, yeah, I motivate that all the time.
The initiative, however, is not just for the adrenaline rush. Through Expedition Everest, Toby seeks to raise funds for abandoned, abused, and orphaned children in Kenya.
We run a children's home and a school up in Jabini in the Aberdare Mountains. And it's a school where we hope that our children will be given the opportunities to truly fulfill their ambitions in life. And we're not going to do it for them. We're just going to show them that with the right tools and as long as you work very hard, there's nothing that you can't achieve.
I like challenges. I like to kind of push myself to...
Meet Helen Kinuthia, 26-year-old sports and exercise science graduate from the University of Brighton, one of the most qualified contestants for the highly coveted sport. But even though her resume is very impressive, having climbed about 15 mountains in various countries, she still has to convince the judges, particularly Sibusiso Vilane, the first African man to have ever climbed Mount Everest, that she's the best suited for the task.
Thanks. Thank you.
Teddy Kisoi, another talented contestant, amazed the judges with his story. His father, Munyao Kisoi, hoisted the Kenyan flag atop Mount Kenya back in 1963 during the independence celebrations. Currently a clerk at the Ministry of Sports, Kisoi says it's time to live up to his father's legacy.
I think I'm in the shoes. It's only that they are not fitting because, he did a heroic deed. Probably this would propel me maybe to a certain extent. I will feel a bit more probably reaching to where he went.
However, the mission is equally risky. The combination of cold and altitude on Mount Everest has a number of effects on climbers. Many people experience altitude sickness, which causes dizziness, fatigue and nausea. There's only about a third of the oxygen near the top of Mount Everest as there is at sea level, which makes it very difficult to breathe. The cold also causes frostbite and hypothermia. There's a particular spot that has been christened the death zone. According to official records, about 220 mountaineers have died so far as they attempted to conquer the 8,848-meter tall mountain.
It's part of what makes mountaineering such a magnificent sport is that there is the element of danger. And it's up to the individual to make a choice on how much risk they take on. What's risky for me might not be risky for, a world-class alpinist. What I consider to be safe is far too much of a risk for someone with a much more, perhaps, gentle outlook on life.
You are able to identify certain qualities within you that you will put back into your life challenges, be it anything, be it business, be it career, be it your social life. Mountains teach you that in a practical way.
The chosen Kenyan mountaineer will, however, not go through the summit alone. There will be a special team of more than 20 to assist the climber during the 3-month-long expedition.
Great to see you again.
Once the audition process is complete, Kenya's official flag bearer for Expedition Everest will be unveiled to the public as the team prepares for the highly anticipated mission slated for March 2014. Asha Mwilu, KTN in Nairobi.
Now it's that time again when we take you to the motoring world, and tonight KTN's Betty Kialo brings us something different. Autoworld tonight focuses on high-performance bikes that are increasing in number on our roads. Well, she spent an afternoon with members of the Bikers Club of Kenya and brings us this story.
So with the beautiful landscapes of the coffee plantations in Kiambu town, Autoworld tonight brings you something different, something you asked for, something that will get you chilling. Enjoy. They have become today's most prized toy possessions. They feature prominently alongside music icons in urban music. They rock and roll, and they have evolved to become an urban legend. High-performance bikes have also been used in all-time movie classics like The Biker Boys,
Black Knights in town,
Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man, and the all-time favorite series, The Renegade. But forget the music and the movies. Let's come back home where performance bikes continue to increase in number on the roads. is for the simple reasons of pure enjoyment, passion, fascination, flexibility, fuel efficiency, the spirit of adventure, and the list goes on. It was a cool Saturday afternoon where, after previous arrangements, I met some members of the Bikers Club of Kenya. My main focus, getting to see the bikes close enough because of most of the times they just speed off. With a bit of chit-chat and a brief sampling of the good-looking machines, we set out the winding roads of Kiambu, roads that the bikers have nicknamed the Kiambu Twisties. After setting up, the bikers put a show for us, speeding past our cameras in flamboyance and boldness. You could think they started biking since birth. Most of these machines have engine capacities ranging from 750 to 1000 cc. Known as street bikes, they go up to the speeds of 300 kilometers per hour. In fact, the bikers tell me that going to Mombasa will take them half the time that a standard car would. Bikers all over the world are known to be passionate about their machines, and Charles Kinenyi is one such guy.
It's a nice way to get around. There's the thrill, obviously, and you know, you get to work energized and ready to work, you know.
Meet Kimani Gathu, and yes, he is 60 years. Kimani, who has a vibrant personality, says that he has been riding for 43 years now. He also tells me that he cannot and will not quit.
Well, it's a passion. I started this when I was 17, 1969. I bought my first motorbike, and 43 years later I'm still riding because I haven't looked back since. And I don't intend to.
The Kiambu Twisties, which are beautiful, tucked in massive coffee plantations, together with the bikers, created a breathtaking scenery. After seeing the bikers do their thing, it was my turn to get on the bike. I got into the protective jacket, gloves and the helmet, which were so good looking. And as nervous as I was, I got on the bike with Kimani and we set out. The wind speeding against me and the nice road all to ourselves, I could now understand their addiction. I was, however, curious about safety, something that they told me was the least of their worries every time they get on the road.
I think it's safer than being in a car. Don't try to race us. You know, guys see us on the roads and they decide, oh, let me race a guy and see. Stuff happens and you might just find your car on top of me.
The biker's protective gear list is long. The helmet, padded gloves, armored jackets, knee sliders and the boots. When I asked Kimani of his most memorable ride,
the ride I can remember is going to Mombasa at speeds of 50 kilometers per hour, carrying my pregnant wife. But it felt good because I couldn't ride faster than that.
When it comes to maintenance, is it expensive to maintain a bike?
These particular one, yes, in the sense that there are no dealers in Nairobi.
Even when it comes to buying one, they are also pricey. Motor ADV is one of the places in Kenya that the bikers get their bikes. Here, bikes like the quads, sports tourer, dual-purpose, off-road and street bikes sit. These bikes sell from 700,000 to 1 million shillings depending on their nature. This big dog Ridgeback, one of the most acclaimed bikes worldwide, is used for hiring because of its presence. If you want this to be part of your wedding entourage, the cost will be 30,000 shillings an hour, just to show you that the bikes don't come cheap. Biking remains to be a flexible and appealing mode of transport worldwide. Verdict: apart from the passion exuded by bikers, biking is a sporty and fun way to move around. For Autoworld, my name is Betty Kialo.
Betty, thank you. Now, in tonight's edition of Money and Power, KTN's Zawadi Mudibo introduces us to Diane Huggins, the brain behind the statistical package for the social sciences, SPSS, which started in Africa close to 2 decades ago. She is the Chief Executive Officer of SPSS East Africa, a local partner for IBM with operations cutting across West, Eastern and Central Africa.
Looking at Diane Huggins, you may mistake her for an immigrant worker in Kenya. Not at all. Talk of love brewed in an African port. It has been challenging for her to find a personal identity, considered her mixed race, but she is proudly Kenyan.
I'm very proud to be a mixed race Kenyan. My mother is Kenyan and my father is from Sheffield in England. Most people call me Nyarobama. And I'm so happy with that name because it actually eludes the mixed race, and I want all the mixed races that are here in Kenya to be proud of that existence because we have the best of both worlds.
And just in case you're in doubt, she reveals her aptitude for languages.
Fluently, I speak English and Swahili and French, but I can speak my mother tongue, which is Kuria. I can also speak Luo because I was born, raised in Kisumu, although I'm not a Luo by nationality or by ethnic upbringing. I also speak some Kisi. I speak a little bit of Kikamba. So I think it's a great situation to be in where communication is the elements.
She is neither a college nor a university graduate and says she is a perfect example of a lady who's beat all odds to become what she is today. Her key to success is her passion and drive to make a difference, an attribute passed on to her by her late mother, to whose memory she dedicates her life's achievements despite the fact that she is a single parent of one.
I call it the 3 Ds. In my mind of thought. If you have the discipline, you have the determination, and you have the drive, you can soar the skies.
Her company is a solutions provider for enterprises and organizations. Diane began her career as an employee of the firm she now owns, and this is how it happened.
We incorporated SPSS in May of 1998 as the exclusive franchisee for SPSS, which was one of the leading software houses or industry that was dealing with predictive analytics and statistical analysis, headquartered in Chicago in the US of A.
She had been employed with the former distributor of SPSS for 5 years before the firm decided to close down operations in this region. She took a leap of faith, approached the firm to give her the distributorship deal. And 15 years down the line, the fire in her to own the business has put her at the top of the game.
I've always wanted to be a businesswoman. I always wanted to be self-sufficient. I always wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to drive my own destiny.
SPSS East Africa Regional Franchise Office for Africa plans to rebrand to Predictive Analytical Resources Limited, PARL.
Being in a businessman's world is the ability to not be intimidated by the fact that it is or perceived or tabooed as a businessman's world. Women are very capable. Women have a lot of determination and probably even a higher drive.
But what exactly makes Dan tick in the business?
Very leading question. I'm going to be very candid with this. All I'm going to say is the business is doing very well. We are one of the major partners for IBM and SPSS within the African region. Our margins and targets go well over, or expected well over, $1 million per quarter, and I'll leave it at that. The rest I will leave to your imagination.
And that is money and power.
Get a dog. Come on, guys. There you go. Hi, Missy. Now this is my first. Missy, sit.
In her free time, this is how Dan spends her moments.
My greatest hobby is home decoration and cooking. That's what I enjoy most, because I work all day, and when I leave work, what I like to come home to is to a beautiful home, one that is full of warmth, love, ambiance, and of course I love my kitchen because I enjoy good food, and I enjoy entertaining because I do it right at home.
Reporting for KTN, Zawadi Mudibo.
So now we can.
That may be good enough for these germs, but germs are getting tougher. You need advanced protection. Lifebuoy Advanced Lifebuoy gives protection against 10 infection-causing germs. 10 infection-causing germs. 1 advanced protection. Lifebuoy.
At UAP, we enhance lives across Africa. Insurance, investment management, property investment, and financial advisory. UAP, better, simple life.
You look ready. Come in. For smooth skin that gives you confidence, start your day with Gillette Mac 3. Its high-definition blades shave closer than regular blades, giving you that smooth skin with every stroke. See you on Monday.
Herbal Betasil medicated lozenges. Fast, effective, and soothing action for sore throats.
A sore throat can be so uncomfortable and just makes you miserable, making swallowing painful, talking a bother, and even singing stressful. When you have a sore throat, take it easy. Ensure you take plenty of fluids, and remember, always, when symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Now introducing 2 new Betasil flavors, Betasil Menthol and Betasil Peppermint.
Natural beer, sugar-free, truly Kenyan. Standard Digital, your gateway to news.
Celebrates
Kenya is also looking to form the Confederation of African Rugby.
Entertainment. Telemundo presents The Clone. Standard Digital, your gateway.
Corazón decepcionado, te quedaste acostumbrado a otra forma de querer. Pobre porque nadie te ha enseñado que en la vida ganas más cuando se aprende a perder. Y es que nadie nació con instructivo para amar. Nadie aprende a ser feliz y no llorar. Pobre corazón que con el frío te abrigaste de egoísmo intentándote curar. Tienes que acordarte de vivir, de arriesgar y de sentir para volvernos a intentar.
And look who's got great hair. Now wigs are just for fun.
New anti-breakage oil moisturizer.
We are Dark and Lovely.
Natural beer, sugar-free, truly Kenyan.
The sporting action now, and big names failed to impress at this year's Soto Safari Half Marathon, where little-known Victor Chirchir overturned the form book to take the top honors. Chirchir's winning time of 1 hour and 45 minutes. Peter Kimeli and New York Marathon champion Geoffrey Mutai followed in second and third places respectively. Grace Momanyi won the women's race, and as Victor Ogala reports from Uhuru Gardens, the usual overcast skies were replaced by much clearer ones, affecting most competitors.
The race started at the historic Uhuru Gardens, and for the first 10 kilometers, mostly along Mombasa Road, marathon newcomer Matthew Kisorio has had a rough season after missing out in the men's Olympic 10,000 meters team. Led the pack with usual suspects, New York and Boston Marathon champion Geoffrey Mutai, Peter Kimeli, Victor Chirchir, and Collins Kimosop trailing closely. Kisorio, who had just jetted back into the country from America where he had gone to take part in a road race, was left behind as Victor Chirchir comfortably eased past the leaders to win in a time of 1 hour, 1.45 minutes. Peter Kimeli, Kisorio's younger brother, and Geoffrey Mutai finished second and third respectively. Matthew Kisorio was fourth. Kisorio's other younger brother, Nicholas Togom, won the men's 10-kilometer race.
Aza nikasema acha kwanza na relax nione ile watanipigisha kwa sababu nilikuwa naogopa hawa.
Kwangu wenyewe mbio leo iko rahisi, lakini kwangu sikuwa nataka kwa kushinda, ama nilikuwa natakia vijana wangu, kwa maana nilikuwa na encourage na kuambia na kuwaita most of the time kuambia kuja mbele.
The women's race was won by Commonwealth 10,000 meters reigning champion Grace Momanyi, was making a comeback from injury. She won it in 1 hour 11.42 minutes. She was followed by Japan beast Phyllis Ongori and Pauline Jewi.
Running this race, it was testing my body since I'm coming back from the injury, to see also if I will make a team to World Half.
Over 1,000 athletes, among them 50 foreigners, took part in the race. This year's edition of the Soto Safari Half Marathon saw the participation of some of the big names in the long-distance arena, though none of them could take home the $250,000 shillings on offer. Victor Ogale, KTN Uhuru Gardens, Nairobi.
Football now, and Salim Ali scored a hat-trick in Gor Mahia's comprehensive 3-1 victory against KCB at the City Stadium. Dan Serenkumba played a big role in the victory as he set up Salim. Alvis Ayan pulled one back for the bunkers. Former champions Ulinzi Stars registered a similar score in their match against struggling Rangers in Nakuru. City Stars shared the spoils with Western Stima in the barren draw at the City Stadium.
Ugandan import previously.
Gor Mahia's comeback could not have been any better as they